You're listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
Let's do it.
Done. Look at that. You nailed it.
Yeah.
You did great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to keep that in there, aren't you?
Heck yeah, we're keeping that in there. That was very cute. See?
I wasn't actually ready.
You're ready now. It's on. It's on like Donkey Kong.
Well, that's how I play. I always lose the little guy and end up doing that and spin and fall down.
Did you play that a lot?
I did not. It was like I never had that game, but sometimes friends did. I played that more here. What is like? I can't align anything today. It's okay.
You look pretty aligned to me.
Thank you. I played that more on our Wii here than I ever have, and I have a sudden urge to go play Donkey Kong.
Oh yeah.
To try and do that like.
When that came out, because I think there was an original one on like Nintendo, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really play that one, but I played when it came out on Super Nintendo.
Okay.
They like re-released it on the new platform.
Yeah.
And that thing got me through my parents' divorce.
Yeah. Oh, you played a lot of Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
The Super Nintendo or Donkey Kong?
Both.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a Super Nintendo.
Oh.
Auntie Rue had a Super Nintendo. So I would go next door and play like forever. And yeah.
That's such a cool aunt.
I was really good at killed it. Super good at Donkey Kong. Heck yeah. Nailed it.
I love that. I want the Nintendo, the original Nintendo. Like they have the thingy that's like all the games.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I want that.
You can play it on the computer now.
That's no.
Was that you on a computer?
It was like I'm supposed to hit like space bar left, right. I want the Nintendo controller.
I'll get you one for your birthday.
And if you do that, my productivity, like, which is already like, I am the most, actually I'm doing pretty good. Anyways, I won't do anything else.
Yeah.
That'll be my, like, so maybe we could rent one and I could have fun with it for a day or two and then we have to give it back.
Do you remember you could rent Nintendos?
I know you could rent games. You can still rent games.
The actual operating system. You could rent a Nintendo.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I remember that.
I did not know that. Well, that's what we should do. That way I have to give it back and then I go back to doing things in the world. Or Asher and I will be down there with our headsets.
What if I lock it up? Like, we'll get it for you and then I will give you, well, you can decide.
I don't think this is going to go how you think it's going to go.
Like,
and then you're going to let me know. You're going to
set up your time, right? Set your little alarm, and then when your alarm goes off, I'll just walk over and turn it off.
My little alarm, and when my alarm goes off.
And then I'll lock it back up, and then watch you have a meltdown. Like you'll be in the midst of battling the boss.
And you'll just turn it off.
I'll just come over and turn it right off. Sorry, time's up. Lock that thing back up, and then see you. No!
Do you remember that one time? Okay, we played it twice, but there was like, you helped me once, and it was just... I only played it so long, but then when I tried to figure it out myself, and I spent like 8 hours playing Lara Croft.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do. You got caught up in it.
I did. That was like the one time I didn't get nauseous, and then it started to make me sick. And then when I went to play it again, like a couple of days later, after I got over my massive migraine, I wonder why, it immediately made me nauseous, and I couldn't touch it again. So I binged Lara Croft, and that was it. It was like locking you in a closet with what would they do? Like your case of cigars or a pack of cigarettes. That old thing they used to say if they caught you smoking. I mean, that never happened, but they would. Do you remember hearing those things? Yeah. Like, and so it makes you sick. Yeah, that's what happened. I smoked a pack of Lara Croft and was like, well, we're done.
I wish that they had, because I think back to the Nintendo days and the controllers, everything about the entire system itself, including the TVs that we used to have back in the days. It's the old adage, right? They just don't make them like they used to.
They don't.
But we used to throw the controllers directly at the TV screen. So not even like...
I believe it.
Do you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like you'd be playing something and died for the 40th time and huck that controller straight at the TV screen.
I don't know why they think video games incite violence in people.
And all of it worked just fine. right? Nothing broke.
Open.
And it wasn't like a little toss. It was full on.
Yeah.
Bam.
Now
chucking that
everything
controller.
crashes and breaks.
Can you even imagine if Asher threw the controller for his PlayStation at the TV, right? Everything's broken.
Well, then we wouldn't. Like, he would have to come up with something else to do because we're not going to buy another TV.
The TV's broke. The controller's broke. He probably, everything's broken.
His brain's broke right now. He's
broken.
like, oh my, what am I going to do?
But back then, nothing broke.
Nothing broke.
You couldn't even chip anything. Like the glass on those television
was like
screens
4 inches thick.
were the original Coke bottle glasses. Why did they have to have the glass on the TV so thick?
I was trying to keep all the
Did they
radiation
plan?
in.
Probably.
And now they're like, it's fine, buy a bigger one.
Right? But that's so funny. And like those controllers, I mean, you couldn't even chip them. Like it was plastic, but it couldn't chip the nothing. They were so strong.
Do you remember what you would have to do if the...
And you'd squeeze them. There were times where you're like...
and you could hear it. And you're just like...
You try to break it because you're so fucking pissed. What happens?
I squoze it. Nothing.
Still works just fine.
I definitely squoze it. Do you... Oh, God damn it. I lost my train of thought. I was just going to say something. It was a nostalgia. Oh, how you would clean them. Like if it stopped working, you hit the TV, like not angrily, just like boom, boom, boom. So it would go
specific spots.
Yeah, that would hit.
Where it was like you knew where to hit the TV to make it work again.
And like blew in it and blew in the thing, hit it a little bit, and it was good to go.
Yeah.
Like that's how they used to make things. And now it's, I don't know.
My favorite is, because we've talked about this before, where there were like things that were done that we all did, but nobody talked about it. Like there wasn't a Reddit forum where it's like, how do you get your Nintendo to work again? Well, you've got to use the case for it, because there were times where you would put the game in, push it down, and it stays locked in position, right? But it wouldn't play.
Yeah. Oh, you had to.
So you had to use the case that it came in to wedge it in there to get it to sit down just that little bit more to actually work. And then it worked just fine. But that was something that I don't know, like that. Who talked about that, right?
Well, I think it's because we were forced to like critically think back then and actually use our noggins as opposed to, okay, Google, what do you have? Our phone's going to light up.
Right.
Then mine did. Yep. He's like, yes.
Don't throw your phone though.
I won't. I never throw my phone intentionally. It's not like a rah, or sometimes I want to. I'm just walking.
We had a dream. I had a dream. That dream just came back to me.
Which?
Because we did dreams last week.
We did. What was your dream?
Oh, apparently it's important.
That's your phone again.
No, it's not.
That was your phone.
I definitely muted mine.
You definitely did not. Mine's muted.
Okay. Are you sure yours isn't?
Yes.
That was definitely yours.
That was a your tone. See.
So the dream was, there was a, let's see if I can flesh it all out. Because my phone was involved.
Okay.
So there was like a group of cool kids that I was trying to hang out with, and they were riding BMX bikes, and they were doing like super cool tricks like on the freeways, and it was dangerous. Yeah. But they were cool. And I thought, I can go do these cool tricks with these guys on my BMX bike. But then they're like, hey, let's see your bike. And so they took it and they started riding it. And I don't know if they like out loud said this to me or if I was suddenly in the head of the person riding the bike, right? Where I realized suddenly that my BMX bike was not a good bike. It was a piece of shit. It was like a cheap off-brand Walmart version of a BMX bike. And they had like the professional BMX bikes. And so I understood immediately that like mine was a piece of shit and theirs was better than mine. And then somehow they were still like letting me hang out with them. And I thought, it's okay, I can do this. And then it came time where they were like filming their tricks. And they wanted to use my phone. And they like, what was it? Like they placed a bet with me. Like they bet me $50 that I couldn't do this trick or something like that. And they were going to film it with my phone. And then I tried to do it or something happened and it didn't work. And then they broke my phone in the process of it. And then they still paid me like $50, but I was pissed because my phone got broke and I was like, fuck this. And I was leaving and I left. And then I realized the $50 that they had given me was fake. It was a fake $50
Ooh.
bill. And so it was just like all of this anger and rage and frustration over the wrong, like how I had been wronged in all of these different ways. So yeah, the cracking of the phone is what triggered that memory. Because I was like so pissed off that they cracked my phone and they didn't even care. Like it wasn't even like, sorry, dude, we can't believe it, or whatever. Who cares? It's just a piece of shit. We don't care about this. And then, yeah, man, that was a shitty dream. So we're probably done talking about it.
Yeah, are you okay.
What stands out to you, babe?
Honestly, there's a lot, but I don't know how much you
We can go into it a little bit.
Just a little bit. So
see, what did we say on the dream episode? Everything, it's just going to turn into the dream interpretation podcast.
Like as a whole, like there's like the two things that I noticed as a whole, trying to fit in, feeling like that what you have to offer, what you're bringing to the table isn't enough and it isn't even being valued. And once they see that, then like you're exposed. So the feeling of not enough. And I find it, like I'm kind of scooting over that, even though that's a massively huge part, because it starts off with something largely significant. Starts off, it's about like, for one, the daredevil, right? And the cool kids are the ones that are being wild, dangerous. Like you can see the relate to that.
BMX tricks on a freeway.
But the thing that like really stands out to me, which is why I'm like, I'm not sure where you're going to want to go with this, is, huh?
Mm-mm.
You don't. The bike, the significance of the bike and how it was not what they were on. Not that kind of bike. It was like a put together bike. I'm definitely like not giving a lot here because.
Do you know that information? I've shared that with you before?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's why.
We're talking in code because she doesn't want to trigger me into deep emotional trauma.
Yes.
Folks that are listening.
And I know you will know. That's why if you want to go, we can, but we can also do this another time. Like this one might not be a podcast one.
Well, I see that correlation now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We talked about the symbolism of dreams, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the subconscious trying to process through stuff. And it's almost like my subconscious still has things that it's processing that it can't. It's almost like when you're working on your computer. Your computer's a good example of it because it's an outdated computer. But you'll click on something and then you'll click on something else and then you'll click on something else and you try to do something else. And the computer is still trying to do the one thing that you told it to do at the very beginning, right? So my subconscious is still trying to process through. Let me move that back over.
Yeah.
Is still trying to process through all sorts of different things from childhood that it can't even like begin to process what's next, right? Because it's like it's still working on the thing that was clicked on back in the day. And so this dream is very much a childhood dream of all sorts of different things that are coming up from it.
Yeah.
What do you think the significance of the money is?
Could be too, like maybe it's like multifaceted.
Yeah.
So the lack of, at the time, always like a concern, fear, never enough. This is why like we can't have nice things in a sense, kind of just like the humor of that. But the daunting of that, as well as being reinforced with, like it's a big focus on our minds right now as well.
Yeah.
So it's a past, present.
Past, present, and future.
I didn't say future. Did not say past, present, but time, right?
Yeah. It's so funny.
And then not being able to trust it and hold on. And again, once again, deceit, being lied to, who people show up as, not being who they are.
Right. I had another one this morning too.
Another one?
Very like, I'm not going to talk about this one with the listeners of this said podcast, but it was a lot of just masculine, feminine stuff is being like played out and processed in my head. It's really interesting. It's really interesting how masculine and feminine are showing up in my dreams, right?
Yeah.
So if I just look at those two energies and then how my subconscious is processing those two energies, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we talked about my football dream on the dream episode, but like, that's a really good example. Right. And then last night I had another one that was very, very clearly masculine and feminine roles being like symbolized and played out in this dream. It was really interesting.
You had one like the night before last too, or something like that within the last couple of days that was like, you weren't even sure you could tell me. It was like an intense one that I thought you said masculine and feminine were also playing out in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've been processing
so much. Yeah. Lots and lots. But we're not going to do another dream episode because Craig will start crying again. And yeah, I don't know. That BMX bike one was interesting.
Yeah.
There was also other aspects of it too. Like I don't think we talked about this on the podcast, but it's like you have like the main plot of your dream, and then you have all these subplots that take place. And sometimes the subplots are harder to remember. They're like parts of your dreams that aren't as fleshed out and as full as the main plot. Mm-hmm. But the subplots still, I think, have symbolism and importance and things. And there was like a subplot part of that BMX dream, of the bike dream, where I was allowed to sit down and gamble with these guys. There was like a group of older men that were playing poker, and I was allowed to like sit down and hang out with them and play poker. And it's like, it was this cool experience of getting to sit down like at the adult table and play with these old guys, like these old school poker player veteran guys. But it was really interesting too, because it wasn't like it's kind of like the type of poker game that you would expect to take place in like a dingy bar with truck stop or with truck drivers or something, like old truck driver retired guys that, go down to the pool hall and play poker on a Wednesday night or something. It wasn't like a high stakes backroom Matt Damon and Rounders, John Malkovich poker game, which is what I would like to play in.
Would you? Did you watch the movie?
Yes, I would like to play in.
I know, like if that ever happened, I just like, you know what?
Yeah.
I understand.
My gambling days are over.
Are they?
My poker.
Are they?
Yeah.
What would happen if somebody showed up right now? If Matt Damon showed up right now,
baby,
and
if
he
Matt
was
Damon
like,
shows up right now,
you're doing
it
anything.
doesn't matter what he wants to do.
Fair point.
Matt's like, hey, Craig, I need somebody to help you rob a bank. Yes, we can take the van. I just fixed it. It's going to be fine. Craig, I have a body. Yes, Matt, let's go.
Okay, Matt Damon, you are not allowed to show up at our house because I'm going to set the boundaries.
He literally could knock on the door and ask for anything.
You don't know what kind of wow.
I'm teasing.
I'm not sure. Like, you put that shit on camera. Kate, you're not allowed at our house, Matt Damon, right now. Like, how many houses has Matt Damon actually been banned from? How many do you think? He's been banned from this one. Like, so.
You had something you said.
I did?
Didn't you? I thought you said that you had something in mind for a little something to talk about.
I did. I also thought that we were like, do you want to talk about... Okay, sure. Yeah. This was like, I feel like we were, I can say that there was not a lot of like, whoom.
That was a very,
just like, here we go. I'm sitting here like,
very abrupt segue.
like drafting my formal petition whatever for Matt Damon to not be allowed at this residence.
Matt's always welcome at this house.
No, he's not. Not based off of that conversation we just had. He is not welcome.
If he wants to rob a bank, I'm robbing a bank.
That's why
with
he's
him.
not allowed. You guys are not allowed to play together. Like, we're squishing this. Like,
I'm going to call his wife and let her know that he's not welcome.
She's
at this
probably
house.
already calling me and being like, look, these two cannot play together. They cannot hang out. Shit's going to go down. It's like, no. So, okay. One of the things that has been coming up and that I've seen a lot of energy in space, and not only like have I seen other people experiencing it and expressing it, it's also something that I feel it's like it's been a weight on me as well. So, boy, I'm nervous. I feel like I hate that when you go to be vulnerable and it gets really quiet.
It's really quiet.
Like, why the fuck did everybody stop talking?
Make some background noise.
Like, yeah, I need some like white noise going on. Everybody stop talking. Like, no, keep talking, everybody.
Stephanie has the floor. Excuse me, everybody.
Quiet, silence.
Steph has the floor.
So, okay, that was actually a lot. That was too much. But I'm like, they're really listening now. You don't know. Okay, I'm okay. I'm literally visualizing myself in a fucking crowd.
Standing up.
I can feel that. Like, I'm not, this is, we are in our room, in our like podcasting room, in our house. I need a moment to like really ground myself because I'm in a crowd somewhere that doesn't even exist. I'm not even drawing from like a real life thing.
Yeah.
Actually, I am. Okay. Get in the moment. I am here. I am here. I am here. I'm here. Do you ever, like, I can't stand the padding. That's one of the methods I have to squeeze to bring yourself back in the present. When you feel yourself starting to disassociate, I'm going to do it as it's happening because there's like active panic happening, which is funny because there shouldn't be. You just rolled your eyes at me.
I didn't roll my eyes at you.
If you start to grab your body in a safe way, some people can pat their arms and legs, but the smacking sensation is too much for me. So I just like sometimes just like grab your arms a little bit, your forearms, work your way down, just little nice gentle touches that you are in control of. Nobody else can do it for you.
Right.
That'll send you through the the chaos roof. But to help get back in your body and be like, where are you? So you don't go someplace else and completely disassociate.
Okay, are you back in your body?
Yeah, sure. Let's take a drink. All of that came from it getting quiet. Like what I'm going to talk about isn't like it's hard. It's about trauma, but it's not even that hard.
Yeah.
But it was the getting quiet, feeling like I had the floor because the microphone on my face didn't do it. And then the ding, 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 it was like a group and the cheers on it was crazy. So now that we are back in our bodies, kind of. So the thing that's been coming up, basically, maybe I'll just blurt it out because I'm trying to figure out how to say it and there's no like way to say it. It's talking about how difficult healing from trauma is and how much shame that can get when people are actually working through healing their trauma. And so you have like there's more than this. We're just going to give like a kind of a crude draft, or in a sense. So you have trauma moment. And we'll just say that like this is not an ongoing, just whatever. The thing that caused trauma, whether it's a singular moment or whether it's a repetitive thing that an ongoing, the cause of the trauma, the point of origin. Then you have living as a traumatized person, because after that happens, it's basically you're a different person now. You are now a person that has experienced trauma. And whether that's something that is on your mind or not, whether it's something that you feel is holding you back and making you afraid of everything and you're not moving through, or whether it's something that you're just not looking at and you think it doesn't affect you because you're not looking at it with zero awareness of every action that you were doing is a trauma action, a trauma reaction, all the ways that you are living with the trauma, and then to a point where you get to where you want to heal the trauma. And you have to stop and sit with the trauma. You have to sit with the event. You have to sit with all of the events. You have to sit with actions that happen thereafter, whether your actions or what the scenarios look like around you. You have to sit with how you presented yourself to the world or how you presented to yourself to other people. You have to sit with facing everything. And it's it's such a deep process, especially if it's, I guess not especially, because there's no like level, just like whatever. Like that is such a process right there. And it takes time. It takes a lot of time, and you have to constantly work on it. Like, yes, you get breaks. You get, you can't just sit there and 100% only be deep in it. You need breaks, but even in the breaks, you're not free. You're just taking a break from actively, consciously making the choice to look at it, but it's still there. So it's never really a break, but you're working on that. So then when you have those moments, it's not as heavy, and it continues. Like it's a journey. It does get better. It does start to get lighter, but I don't know what it looks like when you've healed the trauma, because I haven't healed the trauma yet. Like, is that a thing? Do you actually ever heal it? I sure hope so.
I guess do you mean, does it go away?
I know it doesn't go away, but I think.
So then what would healed trauma look like?
I think, well, like, just for a starting point, right? Just for a starting point would be no longer reactive to situations, no longer thrown into a room that you're not in just from any kind of response, no longer being reactive, are able to make different choices in reaction times, and not even have to consciously choose to make a different choice. Like I have, just you naturally are like able to make those choices without it having to pull, like, I don't know. That's what I hope for. I hope that it's something that doesn't like sneak up on you and pull you down when either you're not looking or something that you can feel coming. I hope it's something that doesn't take you out anymore, and something that you don't have to try to constantly, consciously live through and get through. Like it's just, whew.
Like the charge is out of it now.
The charge, yeah. The charge is out of it. And then who knows what else is possible, right? There's no limit. Maybe it is something that does like dissipate. Who's to say? Anyways, I don't know. That's not the point of this.
Okay.
The point of this is like when you look at how much work that takes and how hard it is. And then you have people who are afraid of doing the work themselves, don't know how to do the work, are maybe inflicting pain, are the ones that are causing trauma. A variety of different things, but they come at you. They come at the ones that are healing their trauma, and they're being overly dramatic. They're being a drama queen. They're being like stuck in the past. Why won't they move on? They're just trying to make people feel bad. All these things that they punish you for feeling what you're feeling, because now it's messy. That happened so long ago. You're choosing to let that bother. You're choosing, all of these things. Like, no, I'm choosing to heal. And it's messy and it's hard. And it's way harder than ignoring it, choosing to look at it. Like, all the shame and just the lack of support or understanding or even willingness to help support people that are courageous enough to start to try and heal their trauma. And then how do you get to say what that looks like or what they should be doing? They're trying everything different. Are there other ways that are easier? Probably. they're going to figure it out. Maybe not. Maybe this is how they have to. It doesn't matter. Like if you are such an expert on how somebody else should heal their trauma, good.
Write a book.
Yeah. Do that. Start looking in. Why don't you pull all that in? If you want to help somebody and you want to sit with them, you want to just be with them, be a support, be a light. Now that's different.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about this yesterday, right? Like those people that are like those statements of like, that happened so long ago. Like, you're not over that yet. Like, that's not a big deal. Get over it. Oftentimes are the ones that implemented the abuse, are the ones that are responsible for the original traumas.
That's not a big deal. You're making a big deal out of that.
Right.
Oh, it's always got to be something with you, huh?
It's so frustrating.
So frustrating.
Yeah. We do that to each other sometimes over little things.
Yeah.
You know, I do that in my head sometimes where I'm like, gosh, you're still holding on to that thing. And
I know. I feel that.
Sometimes it's over little stuff, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's some of the bigger issues that we face in our relationship and some of the bigger things that we've, had to confront and deal with.
Where do you think I do that to you? I don't see that where I do that to you.
I don't necessarily know if it's...
I want to see that if that is the case.
Oh, the way that you... Are you asking the way that you would make me feel like you're rushing me to get over something?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you do that to me.
Okay.
I was talking about myself here where...
Or like how we do that to each other? Like, and you don't mean like each other as the other person, how like we do that to ourselves. Is that what you meant?
No, I was definitely talking about you and I.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I can see how we do it to ourselves, but...
And you might not do it.
I might. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
So that might be like awareness. Like if that's something that I would definitely want awareness for.
It's really easy for me to think of examples of when I've done it.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, really? Like we're still dealing with that? Right? And that's so shitty of me.
Yeah.
Because all the reasons like you've said, right? Who's to say?
I have a moment, and it's actually been eating at me. And it was an old us. It was old us. It was our old life together.
Younger versions of us.
Absolutely. Our baby versions of us. And we talked about the call not too long ago on the podcast. And I said something to you. And I didn't remember saying it, but like we were like, I had our conversation back and forth, our email talking about it back and forth. And so I still have like our emails from, long ago.
I still have them too.
Do you still have them too? This one, we were talking about a call. And
like a call, like, meaning back in the day when we were in law enforcement, a call that I responded to.
Yes.
Okay.
So it was
like a fucking phone call we had? What are we talking about?
Like women know this shit. No, so it was a call that I took.
Okay.
And that you responded to.
Okay.
So I was on it for medical and you responded as law.
Okay. So it was a little baby.
Yeah, that's the one. And we talked about how like feelings you didn't get to really feel things, and how it was also supported and encouraged. Like you can't let it take you out, because what happens if you like let it take you out, then you're done. All of those things. So we were talking about it, and it's like I could go back and read it. We talked about.
We were talking about this in the email.
We were talking about it in the email on the
wow.
call, and how you were just like, that call was really shitty. And I'm like, oh, you were on that, because I didn't know you were on that. I was on the medical, and it was still pretty new, so I didn't have all my eyes everywhere, which is where you got. I was.
Yeah.
My eyes were here. I was like, I think I said like I started CPR on that call. And then you said, no, I initiated CPR. And you said, no, like I initiated CPR. So we had that like back and forth. And I was like, I did. And then I was like, oh, that's right. I don't have a right to, because I was just on the phone, because so much of that was just on the phone. But also like, oh my God, like I can't imagine doing that personally. But the part that is sticking with me is you told me, like, I don't remember if you said it sucks so bad or it was really shitty. And you said that to me. And I told you, kick it out. That was the support you got from me. Just kick it out. And when I read that, I couldn't read anything else. I just like cried. I felt so, I'm like, that's the level. Like you tried, and I'm like, just kick it out. You can't feel that. Just kick it out. That was also me just kicking it out.
Right.
But it's like that. So like that has been really hitting me. I'm really sorry I said that. I'm really sorry I didn't know how to give support.
Oh, baby. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, I love you, and you deserved a lot better than that.
And I have gotten a lot better than that. You're incredibly supportive of my healing.
Do not need to turn this to now make me feel better because I said something shitty. We can just like, I'm sorry I said that to you.
Thank you. Apology accepted. Talk about a segue.
Right.
What were we talking about?
I haven't been reading any more emails. I'm like, whoa.
I wonder. I haven't read through those emails in a long time.
Well,
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Are you finding some gems?
oh, I stopped. I told you to kick it out. I'm like, I'm an asshole. No, there's a lot of like, spicy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of spicy. But no, I'm doing other stuff too.
We're so different.
We are very different people.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I think about that so much. I think about the progression of us as individuals and then as a couple and our relationship. And I mean, we talk about it so much on the podcast, but it is just like, I'm so fascinated by this journey. And you and I talked about this yesterday, this concept and idea of healing together and how incredibly challenging it is, right? You talk about these, like the process of healing from your trauma and how hard it is and how much it takes, and how involved and how difficult and how, I mean, it's a tumultuous fucking journey.
Mm-hmm.
And more power. Like if you're walking through meadows of green grass and flowers and butterflies as you heal your trauma, please write a book so that we can all read
right.
it. And right, if you have mastered and figured out a way to heal trauma in a beautiful, glorious, I mean, it is beautiful
right.
at the end, but it is a tumultuous fucking journey.
I thought I had it figured out.
Just avoid it.
No, well, like I was avoiding it, right? But then when stuff would come up and I would meditate, I would put all the positive energy in it. I would I could happy fucking thought my way through it.
So yeah, just avoid it.
So I thought, I was like, look at me. I'm not even feeling it. I'm feeling so good. I'm above. Like I was like, that's how I thought. I'm like, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be. And I can like positive way and all this momentum and talk. I wasn't feeling a thing. And here I was like thinking I was doing this work. Like I thought I was the more I could do and not feel through and just like, whew.
It doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah.
What do you think of that statement?
I think, you know what? I think there's high roads and low roads. Like it doesn't have to be hard. We don't have to sit here and decide that this is going to be hell. Because of course it will be. Like if you decide that's what it's going to be, of course it's going to be. But also, I think that's like I think that's a shame tactic, a thing of like, it doesn't have to be hard. You're making this way harder than it has to be. You're choosing for this to be hard. It's like then you get shamed for it being difficult. If you were really spiritual, if you were a really compassionate person, you wouldn't be bringing this shit up. If you were really connected, you wouldn't be feeling this. You would be rising above it. It wouldn't even touch you. Like, so there's so many ways that you can be like, it doesn't have to be hard. And I can take a way through it without dissolving into it. Maybe. I haven't found that way. And do not do not gaslight yourself into thinking that if you are feeling it, that you were doing it wrong. It's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
It's gonna fucking hurt. It's trauma.
You know, it's interesting. Now I'm really stuck thinking about this concept and idea, right? It doesn't have to be hard. And there's definitely times where I know that I've made things harder than it needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's definitely times where there's times where I will even consciously choose the harder route.
Yeah.
Because of the subconscious thing of punishing myself and thinking that, I don't deserve the easy route.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's where that statement originates from. Because is times where there would be almost an easier way to do things. But I don't think that I'm worthy of that easier way or that easier thing. And sometimes the only way that I learn things is the hard way.
Yeah. I was going to say, so where's the lesson in that?
In which part?
Like if that's the only way you're going to learn it.
Then that's the way I have to learn it.
Yeah.
Now, can I learn new ways of learning things? That's, I think, what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Right. I'm starting to learn how to do things less hard.
Right.
It's the attachment and non-attachment, right? It's the be present in the emotion and in the healing and in the processing, and be present in that journey and that experience of trying to go through your traumas and heal your traumas, and also watch the process and observe the process and recognize that you are not that.
Yeah.
Right. Like it is so, you and I could, I think a long time ago, you and I could have just dissolved as a relationship if we would have allowed ourselves to stay in the traumatic moments of our life. Because if we stay in those moments, and if we stay, like you brought up that call from back in the day when we were young budding lovers starting our relationship, and I can smell the inside of that trailer. And I remember the light coming through the windows. I can go back to that moment instantaneously.
Yeah.
So there's a part of me that has to be present here in this space and now, but then also willing to sit in that space and to feel that space, but not be attached to either or, right? Like if I avoided trying to feel that moment or reconnect to that moment and just withdrew and pushed away from that and not allow myself to emotionally, mentally, physically kind of drop back into that space, then that would be a disservice, right? I don't think that would be beneficial. I would be resisting that healing moment. And then vice versa, like if I went all in and just allowed myself to really drop back into that moment, now I'm not here. Now I'm not in this space with you. And I could get lost in that moment. And then that moment takes me to the next and to the next and to the next moment. And I could get lost in that space and lost in those traumas. And that's kind of the same thing that's going on right now in our healing, where we are going back in time and dropping into these traumatic experiences from our childhood. And we could stay there.
Yeah.
You know, we could stay in those moments. I don't think that's the issue that we're having, though. I think the issue that we're having is not wanting to go back there at all.
Yeah.
And just avoiding. But then it's like the disservice to the little us in that moment, the inner child, the healing that really needs to take place has to be able to be present in two places at once.
Well, it's it happened.
Yeah.
You know, whether you felt it or not, it happened, and it's gonna stay. But the role that it has is what we get to decide. And like for me, there are things that, it doesn't go anywhere. It's just like buried down. Sometimes it comes up to the surface and I think, whoo, and I distract out of it and push it back down and think, whoo, dealing with my shit. I'm just like pushing it down, pushing it back down. So it's staying with me. It's not going anywhere, but I'm functioning. I'm, from the outside, it's here. But for me, like it has to be able to come up. And sometimes I cannot let it come up. I cannot. I am not strong enough to let it come up. So I have to figure out a way to go down to it and sit with it so that it can like come up together and release. There's a part that's there, but that feeling that wasn't felt, that was shoved down or never had space to be felt or never felt fully, for me, it waits until it can be felt. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to go and relive it and take the scenarios and walk through the scene. But the feeling has to be felt. Like you say that shit. Come on. Like you have to feel it to heal it. That's like I have to feel it. And there's a lot that I can do on my own now. But these big ones that are down there, it is so hard and it is so scary. And I cannot let them come up because I have a lifetime of learning how to hold them down. And going down to them is so fucking scary. I can't do it on my own. But it is so, like all the protections, like I'm mortified to let people help me. I'm embarrassed. I'm scared. And like all of those reasons are because I was also taught that when I reached out for help, that help was violent. So I am so afraid to reach out for help, but I'm doing that. So I have to have somebody go with me, not embody it, not take it on, just like I need support. And now I'm asking for support and I get support. And it has to be somebody that is able to not stay in it. Because if you take somebody that's going to like go in there with you, they might also like, want to stay in it. And that's not going to, because now you're both down there. It needs to be somebody that's like, I'm going to sit with you, but I'm coming out whether you do or not, so it has to take that, like that strength that somebody can do that. So having that is huge and crucial. And I've needed that. I think you have too. I think you might be able to relate. You're not saying anything, but I feel like, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe that's for me.
Relate. Of course,
that's what relate. It is. I keep like saying for me, but also,
of course I can relate.
So that like, you don't have to relive it, but you got to feel it. And you don't have to, you do not have to. It's a choice. You do not have to feel it. It doesn't mean it's going to go away.
I'm really glad we're feeling it.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so
even when we're scared to, even when it's like, not today.
Like as I've started to unpack all these traumas and started to feel through all of this stuff, right? It's so clear to me how it has affected my entire life. Mm-hmm. Before it was a mystery as far as to why I was the way that I was or the way that I felt. My emotional states and this fluctuation and this seemingly like up and down, and my life was a mystery to me as far as how I was feeling and why I was behaving the way that I was behaving and why I was acting this way or thinking this way, or all of it was like a real mystery to me.
And a way to punish yourself too.
Yeah. But I didn't understand, like, why couldn't I get my shit together, or why,
what's wrong with me?
What's wrong with me? For a long, long time, when it comes to jobs, like I think we talked about this on the episode where we did on the 300th episode or something, whenever we talked about this. The podcast is like the longest running thing that I've done consistently. Any job, anything, right? The podcast is the thing that I've done the longest as far as like a job or a hobby or something. And every single job that I've ever had from the very beginning, like my very first job was Zuka Juice, which was now Jamba Juice, which is just a juice bar. A smoothie place, a yummy, delicious. And I mean, I had that job for months, just a couple of months, and walked out one day. And then after that, it was McDonald's. I may have worked at that one a little bit longer, but it wasn't anywhere close to like a year or anything like that. Same thing, just walked out one day and quit. Like in the middle of shifts, I'm just like, I'm done. And I could probably sit here and think of a job that I maybe did like a 2 weeks notice on, but the majority of my jobs I've just quit, and they're very short-lived. Next to the podcast, law enforcement, right? The thing that I did before the podcast was the thing that was the longest.
Mm-hmm.
And it always confused me why I couldn't do a job. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was always really confusing to me why I would just quit jobs and failed again. Here I go again. But I got so good at the process of like quitting and finding a job that it wasn't really a big deal. It's just how I operated. But it didn't make sense to me. And it's not the way that I wanted to operate. And I had a whole bunch of, like you said, criticism and judgment and shame and everything surrounding it, right? Really felt like a real loser. But at the same time, I just didn't understand why I couldn't. Like, I would see other people get jobs and work those jobs for years and have the same job for a long, long time. And I'm like, well, I guess I just haven't found the right job. And that's true in one regards, right? But there's another part of it too, where it's like, I never really understood how much of my repressed life was influencing my everyday life. How much of my repressed traumas and the emotional things that I was not feeling or not looking at or not dealing with was directly influencing my everyday life. I mean, it's like the shadow, right? If we think about Peter Pan walking around, flying around, and then his shadow like grabbing his foot and stopping him, right?
Right.
And it's the same thing where all of that stuff that we deal with, that we don't deal with, that we don't look at, all of that stuff that we experience, but then we don't ever want to process, heal from, acknowledge, just trips us up in our everyday life. And I never understood that. And so the more that I go through it and the more that I process and the more that I recognize and the more that I heal and the more that I see and witness and observe and sit with, makes perfect sense why I've been the way that I've been my whole life.
Right.
It starts to become really, really clear. It doesn't, like for me, it doesn't suddenly make everything easier or better, but it also gives me some peace of mind, right? I give myself a lot of understanding and love and compassion for all of these things that didn't make a lot of sense to me. And now it makes more sense. Still sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks when they come up.
You have just a bit more compassion.
I've got a lot more compassion.
You're like, that makes sense. I see that.
So much compassion. So earlier we were talking like, what does healing your trauma look like?
Yeah.
Like that's what it looks like for me. Compassion and like acknowledgement and recognition now, where I have a subconscious program that is still in full operation, but I see it now.
You see it now.
Yeah. I see it now.
Yeah. Making like those better choices. I look forward to when I make those choices without awareness. Where the healthier choices become the conscious choices. Or the subconscious choices.
Yeah.
Because I'm still like, it's a conscious choice.
That's like a 10th degree Jedi black belt,
I look forward to being a 10th degree Jedi. What did you say the rest was?
Black belt.
10th degree Jedi black belt trauma healer. I look forward to that.
Yeah.
But I'm also grateful that I still catch myself in moments. It's like I have awareness. So I catch, instead of not having awareness and fucking up and then maybe later being like, oh, why did I do that? Or even not seeing it until years later and being like, oh, That was fucking unhealthy. I thought I was being helpful. That was not helpful. That was trauma inducing. That was not helpful. Those are, ugh. But now it's like I'm in the moment making better choices with, like, I'm witnessing it. I have awareness. And so I am like, and that's almost like I'm my own hype guy. You know, I'm like, yeah, keep going. You're doing a good job. And it's exciting. And then the next time, you know, I don't catch it till after and it's like, fuck. But at least, you know, catching it is great. Being aware and being able to make different choices is huge. It's so huge. And I look forward to the subconscious healthy choices running the ship. I want awareness of that. I'm like, yeah, me and my subconscious.
Do you see
Hand
any
in
that
hand.
you have done that with?
That is just a natural reaction, natural, healthy, like one that I do differently that is just a subconscious without awareness. Well, no, because I don't have awareness.
Because I'm sitting here thinking, because kind of what we're talking about to some
Maybe
extent.
I'm already doing it and I don't know now because I don't have the awareness. I'm like, right?
That's what I was curious
I'm like, this
about.
is what I'm waiting for. And the universe is like, well, we'll give you awareness of it, but then you're backtracking because you're saying you look forward to not having awareness when it's just your normal behavior and patterns.
Because we're talking about healing
Thanks,
these
universe.
traumas and what it looks like when you're quote unquote healed, or
Right?
what the healing process looks like.
And I also said, I don't have a clue. Like, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But we're also talking about, because coping mechanisms stem from trauma, right?
Yes.
Coping mechanisms stem from things that we have to cope with.
Right.
Something happens to us that we can't heal or process or feel or experience. So we have to come up with a workaround, aka coping mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
So our coping mechanisms stem from trauma.
Yes.
And now we're becoming aware of those coping mechanisms and the correlation and connection to said traumas, and then making different choices in relation to the coping mechanisms. And sometimes it's just replacing the unhealthy coping mechanism with a new coping mechanism that is a little more quote unquote healthy. Like I play with these cards on the podcast all the time.
And then get mad at me for clicking my pen.
Yeah. And this is my coping mechanism that is in lieu of smoking,
right?
In some ways. Same thing with toothpicks.
I know.
And so I've replaced smoking with chewing on toothpicks and playing with cards.
That's different than replacing, like, say, alcohol. Like, it's excessive. Like, alcoholic. Like, it's a problem for your life. Like, quitting drinking for smoking.
Right.
Like, it's the same. Like, but I don't know.
Well,
I had a point there, but I feel like I did not circle around to my point. I just said something useless that we can cut out. Like, well, we're not going to edit it, but that could be edited out.
This coping mechanism replaced smoking. But what was smoking coping with? Right? That's the work that I have to do.
Yeah.
And that's the process of...
All I can think about is missing smoking right now.
I know. When I was sitting outside in the garage yesterday for extended periods of time, it's like, you know what would feel really good right now?
I'm really proud of you.
For not smoking.
Yeah. We are in some, like...
We're going on 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the longest that I've ever not smoked.
Me too, I think.
Really?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, since 18. Anyways, what was I saying?
In the garage.
Stop talking about don't take me back to the moment of wanting to smoke. The coping mechanism.
Yeah. I'm like cigarettes.
Let's talk about Camel Life. I'm healing by acknowledging, recognizing the coping mechanism, right? But like one day I won't even need the cards or the toothpick, potentially. And even if I need the cards and the toothpick for the rest of my life, that's okay as well. But for me, it's like, can I... it's a little bit harder with these ones because a lot of what smoking was ADD, distraction, boredom. It was something to do the dopamine and nicotine and all these kind of different things, which is very valid. It's a legitimate coping mechanism, obviously, and all those kind of different things. But I have deeper ingrained subconscious coping mechanisms that come up with emotional turmoil, that my go-to coping mechanism is food. And so, for example, yesterday you and I had some really difficult emotional stuff that we went through in the morning. And how did the evening end for me?
For both of us,
the evening ended with ice cream and cookies. And
yeah,
I
not even a little bowl either.
Well, I do that subconsciously, where I'm at the store. What did I go to the store for? I went to the store for, sour cream for dinner. And subconsciously, something starts playing in my head that justifies the buying of ice cream and cookies, fully knowing that at some point I'm going to gorge myself on those.
Yeah.
So then it's like leaning into what am I using the food, specifically ice cream and sweet thing. I mean, what is that?
Sugar.
What is that? What is that causing me to not feel?
Yeah.
And then how do I lean in and feel that more? And more importantly, for me, this might be applicable for other people as well, but more importantly, what are those emotions connected and related to?
Yeah.
Right? Because like if we have a big long list of, we'll simplify it, not a big long list, but like we have 10 emotions as humans that we feel. By the way, that's a very oversimplified thing, right? But we have 10 emotions that we feel as a human. And those 10 emotions come up at some point in the progression of our life. So we're born, we're babies, blah, blah, blah. We go on and we go on and we go on and we grow and we develop. And then like, let's say at 18 weeks, we feel X emotion. And then at, 1 year old, we get this emotion. And it depends on different things for different people. Sometimes you don't get this emotion until you're 3, or you don't become exposed to this emotion until you're 5 or whatever. But whenever you feel the emotion, and then when that emotion is then connected and correlated to something bad. So we have a negative emotion as well in conjunction with it. And then that is what we have to go back and like find the root of, and why do I feel this in conjunction with that?
Right.
And how do I feel that? How do I move through that? Like that's what you were talking about earlier, is going down and finding that memory or pulling that thing up.
The feeling
of it. And I don't do a very good job with that when it comes to like food.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to see the correlation between what is my subconscious coping with right now that ice cream is the solution for.
It hits like so many different things. I know, like just the awareness of that is huge. Like so many, like get stuck. I still find myself in the loop. Like I need to stop eating sugar. Stop eating sugar. Stop eating ice cream. Stop these things. Like I don't want to do that. I'm like, cut that out. Once I can cut it out, the craving will stop. The addiction to that dopamine hit from it will stop. All of those things. There's so many times that I get stuck in that loop. But that's why when I hit that loop and then I get out of it, I always go back, because I'm looking at, like, as you said, just like up here, it's not what's tied to that. And so now it's shifted to where I have awareness sometimes. I'm emotional and I'm going to eat. And then I have times where I'm not going to eat now because it is an emotional hunger. But there's times it's like I'm looking for substance right now. I'm looking to soothe this, and this is okay. And I allow myself like that, and I just give into it with awareness as of where it hasn't. So have I like hit like I'm being triggered because of this and it's attached to this core and this and this and this? Fuck no. And it's like I'm overwhelmed, and the way that texture, the way that I'm soothing myself with food is helping. So just that awareness of it and knowing that there's more is a huge step, and not just focusing on cutting out the carbs. That's all I need to do. Like, that's huge. That's huge. That's that awareness is progress. You don't have to, like, it's hard to measure that sometimes, because it's like, it's not, I don't see progress. I see success,
failure,
right?
Yeah.
And all of this is failure.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one little point that is actually success, and that's at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And anything less than that is failure. But it's like, I have awareness of this. I don't have to succeed. I am already making progress. I am already moving forward.
Yeah. You're right, babe. We are making progress.
We're making so much progress.
Yeah. Well,
I saw a thing before we get off, if I want to like try and share. I don't know the facts behind it. I don't know the truth. I just know that I was like, this is a beautiful concept. And it doesn't have to be picked apart, because it can be. I believe it, and I want to share it because it was such a beautiful concept. This person was talking about him. Maybe I can find it, but I probably won't be able to. This person was talking about how in nature, we're born with the needs, or like born with the ability for the things that we need the most in life. And you think like fish are immediately able to to swim, right? A giraffe comes down and is able to get up and able to run. Horses, like all of these things on what they're able to do. And it's not like they're skilled at, they still need, assistance, but your first instinct is what you need most in order to survive.
We're born with that.
And we're born with that. So obviously, breath, we have that. First one is air, our life force. But humans, babies, are born with the ability, our first ability is to cry out and ask for help. So we have that ability. We get to ask for help.
Wow. I have never thought of it that way.
I hadn't either. It hit me pretty hard too, in a beautiful way.
Yeah. Like you said, right? The baby giraffe knows how to walk. The fish knows how to swim. We had little birds.
They knew how to.
Yeah. We didn't have little birds. There was a bird nest outside our window that we got to watch this spring, which was beautiful. Yeah. But yeah, born with that ability of whatever they need in the moment, like right off the bat for survival. Yeah. And we are born with the ability to cry out for help. Well, I need help.
Yeah.
And the ability to cry. Even that as well, right?
Right. A release.
Yeah. Babies cry all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then somehow we teach babies and children and people to stop crying. And yet that was the thing that we did from the very beginning, knowing that it was the thing that we needed for our survival. Oh, I like that, babe.
Oh, it's not mine. It's not mine. Maybe I can try and track it down, give credit where credit is due.
Well, maybe it is yours.
Yeah. Well,
just in some other version of who you are somewhere else. Thank you for listening, folks. We will see you on the next episode.